understand you can't count on him if you have a friend that's mamish trapped in. I had a friend, his name is David. And he was so trapped into this religious stuff that he's like, I'm not going to rest until you give up the shiksa. So I'm like, wait a minute. And then he gets Yossi Jacobson to email me. So I thought, wait a minute, Yossi Jacobson, he has to be, it's impossible that he doesn't know how the halachic system works. The halachic system is made for making a religion compatible with human life. So it's impossible that Yossi doesn't know that the Chazal and how halacha works is advanced, and we're trying to make marriages work. So if you met a girl that's on an island somewhere, like in China or Japan, the Chazal figured it out how you could marry. So they made the concept of giyur and the whole story with Rus, but it's impossible. So David was repeating what the Rebbe said, and the Rebbe never claimed to be a posek. And he also never told Bachram, go ask a posek. He did say to a guy who was Megayer, you were Megayer with a Bezdin. Rabbi Bamzer came for dollars, and he said, here's a guy who just became a Yid today. So the Rebbe gave $1 and said, mit a Bezdin. Duh! If it's Bamzer, obviously it was with a Bezdin, and it wasn't with a civil court, and it wasn't with a reform Bezdin or some woman rabbi with a guitar. So why did the Rebbe say it? Because, unfortunately, all the other Rebbes we know were into the image, but we haven't figured out that the Rebbe was also into the image. But what did the Rebbe teach? When the Rebbe would scream about Giyur Ka'alacha, what did the Rebbe teach us about rabbinic? You know, when I went to Israel and there was Ethiopian kids in a Dati program, a Kippah Sruga program, so my Chavrusa told me they're not Yidden. He was regurgitating what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said. So my Chavrusa wasn't cruel, and I don't think the Lubavitcher Rebbe was cruel. I think the Lubavitcher Rebbe was powerful and reckless. So this recklessness translated into cruelty that if there is a Rabbanu Shalom, the Lubavitcher Rebbe has to answer to the Rabbanu Shalom why he was reckless and cruel. But Yossi Jacobson, right? So Yossi Jacobson emailed me and he says, "No, how's life?" Like my friend pushed him to email me. Why? Because my friend was so naive that he actually thought that Yossi Jacobson is a tool to convince and to reason into this guy's religious confused belief. So it's like, they say about the first cause, that people argue that everything has a cause, cosmological argument from the Arab Kalam, the Muslim Kalam. So this world had to have a cause to come into existence. So what the scientists say is usually that argument is that it's that the world was created by the arguer's God. So if it's a Christian, it's Jesus and his father Yahweh. If it's a Muslim, it's Allah who spoke to Muhammad in Arabic. And if it's some other Scientologist, it's another Baba Maisa Badzinu. So the way a scientist sees it with a clutter cup, like Rabbi Heller in the Koilo, Rabbi Heller has a clutter cup, right? He says that the guy argues that the world was created by the arguer's God. So my friend thought that Yossi Jacobson's gonna convince me that the Rebbe is right. Halacha, the history of halacha, the Rebbe never managed to burn all the records of Chazal to pretend that he knows better. So we know that the Chazal knew better, because the Chazal said everything works based on the logic system of the area. If it's a modern Orthodox community in Manhattan, you could marry a shiksa and it won't be and how is your mother going to feel about it? They're less morally panicked because they're more rational. So what did Yossi? So I watched Yossi come on, and the first thing I do is I always say, wow, this is useful, I want to be impressed, I want to believe in this, I want to say it's good. And Yossi says it wasn't the whole concept of the Shidduchim in the field, as opposed to arranged marriages, this wasn't frivolousness. Now let me explain one simple concept and we're done. Shidduchim, when a guy meets a girl in a club, dancing, and he's intoxicated, and he's drinking, and the girl is not sneeze. She moves up to him, and whatever happens that night, that's how marriages form. They form from one night stand, and the girl doesn't care if the girl, normal people don't care if the first encounter was what you call dirty. As Woody Allen would say, sex, if it's not dirty, then what is it, right? and even as Kalmanson said, the kid Mayor K, they said, could you do glila? He goes, with one hand. You know, it's like, it's not glila, right? The most important thing about the first encounter, and this is what happened with me and my wife, was the first encounter was menschlich. I made sure that she ate the first date, even though you're not supposed to. You go, hey, let's go for drinks. I said, eat a burekas. I went to this Israeli shop, right walking distance. We had a burekas. She tasted something. I said, because you're coming from work, you must taste something. You can't go hungry around me. So the first encounter, and it happened to be clean because I didn't score, as we say, until the third or fourth date, because that's how the Asians are, especially the Japanese. But what Yossi Jacobson said is another thing that historically makes no sense, because when they would go into the field and the girls would say this, and he says, oh, the girls were saying psukim. They weren't saying psukim. These were simple girls. Most of them were illiterate. And girls were illiterate all the way to the 19th century in Morocco. All they knew to do was how to cook like their mother taught them. Like the girl says, what's her name? Hipster girl, Hasidic. She says, you're going to teach me how to wear a shaitel, right? If you knew a little history, a lot of these girls were never educated and they never knew how to read. A lot of men also didn't know how to read. I know a big businessman in Great Neck, and his father had 11 kids and he never knew how to read or write, even in Farsi. So he went his whole life illiterate. But so Jacobson takes from the Gemara Tainus and he thinks it's historic. It's not. It's the writer saying what each girl, which pasuk each girl is going to say. Think about it. Does it make any sense that it was realistic, that the guy literally followed every girl into every back alley and recorded every conversation, and every girl was lined up, educated? Where did these girls even know how to even quote psukim? Never happened. So it's like it's like a young girl talking like a Zaidi. Like she knew which pasuk to say. Are you out of your mind? But this is what Jacobson's saying. He's saying that this behavior was not frivolous. There is nothing frivolous about a boy meeting a girl. The only thing we have to remember at the first encounter is, were you menschlich, and were you acting like a mensch? And that, on my record, my wife knows that from the first time I was always like a mensch. I behaved like a mensch. Wasn't creepy and I wasn't selfish. Two things. I scored. I was lucky. Look at that. Look at this guy. Running. Look how he runs. So anyway, and I'll leave off with this. So one time I had a shidduch date. No names of the girl. Beautiful story. And I knew that she's also coming from work. She was teaching in a Chabad school in Crown Heights. And the shidduch was in Kings Point, New York, in Great Neck. And I knew the area very well, so I told her, you want to go out to a place? Oh, I can't go to that place. Too many people know me, because she was living in that area. Okay, let's go to the yacht club. It's a bunch of people park their yachts. We could sit over there. And then I went to the kosher place, and I got sushi, tea, soda, pizza, everything in a box like a Siyam Rambam. It looked strange, but I knew that's the right thing to do, because he's hungry and she needs to eat. And if we could eat, then we could talk. We're not talking on an empty stomach and we're hungry. So later I got Musaf from a lady who heard about it and said, what is it that you ate on the first date? So at the time, I didn't know that I'm part of a closed religious circle and I should just lift my foot and fart in their face. I was thinking, but I was still inside. I was still part of it. So I told her this, which was from my heart, but it wasn't an educated argument. I said that when I died, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to ask me, why didn't you give the girl food on the first date? She was hungry. So I'm going to say, because in Lubavitch, there's a minig that you don't eat on the first date, and the Eibishter is going to say, Lubavitch, minig, get the fuck out of my heaven. This is Olam HaEmes, not Olam HaSheker, not Olam HaDis, Olam HaZip code. In my zip code, we don't give the girl food. Fuck you and fuck the Sodom. And fuck the lady that asked me. By the way, the lady she did tshuva on the spot. She was like, whoa.